Hey, this is Brian with worshiptutorials.com. I get asked fairly often what pedals or effects do I use on acoustic guitar when playing live, and really, I don't think that you really need many pedals for acoustic. When I go live, I just plug straight into a direct box, and that can be different depending on where I'm playing, and then straight to the board. But I want to talk about, first of all, the sound of acoustic guitar in like sort of modern contemporary worship music. It's a lot of times played and you hear it as a rhythm instrument, a percussive instrument, and it's usually very clean and pristine, and there aren't usually a lot of effects on it. So when I play, almost always I plug into a LR Baggs Para DI. And they're pretty cheap on the used market these days. LR Baggs has a couple options out there, but all it really is a direct box. So you plug, this is a 1/4-inch output of this guitar. And I get asked about this guitar a lot too, and I'll just say real quick. This is a Martin D35. It's from the early 2000s, and I've had it for a number of years, and I use it a lot, starting to show some wear, which I think is pretty neat. And I have a LR Baggs Anthem pickup system in it. Now the Anthem system has an under saddle piezo pickup, which I typically don't like. I don't think that type of pickup sounds very natural. But it also has a microphone type of a pickup underneath the bridge. So there's a pickup mounted to the bottom of the body, and there's of the top anyway, and there's an under saddle piezo pickup, and then you can blend them. And I almost always blend it all the way to the mic pickup system. And I don't ever have real problems with feedback at all. But then you can just plug that straight out because it has a preamp built into it. And so you can plug it straight or just run it straight into a direct box to a board. But I run into an LR Baggs Para DI. And that gives you a few extra controls. It gives you some basic EQ, low, mid, and high controls. And it also gives you a notch filter, which is handy because where I usually lead worship, this guitar in that room, the A string feeds back. So if you play a chord with an open A in it, like an A for example, that low A string kind of does that in the room. And it just creates this loop, and so you can notch that out with the Para DI. But all you really need is something like this. This is just your basic direct box. What it does is it takes the 1/4-inch output from the guitar, and it receives the output here, that 1/4-inch, converts it to XLR, and then you can run that into your soundboard. And your soundboard will have EQ typically. So really the only effects that I think you need on acoustic are EQ. Usually you want to roll some low end out of it so it doesn't sound bassy or boomy. And then you can play around with the mid-range to make it sound good, to fit in with the other instruments. You might want to add some high end, depending on what kind of tone you're going for. Compression can be nice, and a lot of times the soundboard will have that built in. But the EQ is something that you really probably want to take care of at the soundboard if you have a sound guy who is doing that. The other thing you might want to do, if you want to add some effects, I would start with some delay and some reverb. Probably reverb before delay. And for reverb, I like this pedal. This is a Boss RV6. You can go with a Boss RV5. Either way, you can get these you can get the RV5 for under $100 used very easily. I like the modulate setting. It's a modulated reverb. It's really warm, ambient sounding, and I'd like to leave the level pretty low for acoustic guitar and the tone pretty low, and the time, you don't want the decay to be too long. Again, with acoustic guitar, you want it to sit forward in a mix. You don't want it to be buried in reverb and or delay if you're using delay. So if you keep these things low in your mix, it'll just add some nice sense of space to it and make it sound bigger. So I think the Boss RV6, RV5 is a good way to go. For delay, anything with a tap tempo is what you'd want, but you've got to start to be really careful here. When you start adding delay and reverb to any instrument, you can really bury it in a mix. And so if you find that if you're using those effects a lot and you find that your instrument is getting lost, maybe dial back on the reverb and delay. I think a Boss DD20 is a great delay for acoustic guitar because you can set a subdivision and tap it in. But again, I am a sort of a purist when it comes to acoustic guitar, so I think really what you need is just to run that thing into a board and use a good quality guitar and a good quality pickup system, and that's about all you need to do. I'm not a big fan of adding a lot of effects to guitars, to acoustic guitars. So hopefully this is helpful. Thanks, we'll see you next time.